We're starting a brand new series this week, and it is called Made. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff. Let me ask you something. Do you know how you were made? Yes. No, not that way, not that way. I mean, do you know how you were made? Like by the creator of the universe making you? Yeah, we're going the church route on that question. You can ask the physiological questions to your parents later, but we'll talk about those a little bit more in the upcoming weeks, which I know you all are super thrilled about. But have you ever thought about how you were made? No. Like this is just kind of like think about this. Actually, we'll get into this a little more later, but think about like before you were born, who gave you the soul that you have? Who gave you your soul, your thought, the ability to be able to have consciousness? You know, have you thought about how you were made in that regard? How you are unique from everybody else. There's no one in the world like you, even if you have a twin. There's differences, right? There are things that keep you different from your identical twin. You guys ever seen a doppelganger, like someone that you're like, oh my goodness, that person looks exactly like so-and-so. Like I was just telling Hannah Ruddle earlier, I saw her doppelganger 10 years older at CIO, I believe this last weekend, and she sang on stage, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Hannah Ruddle. Somebody pointed it out to me, and I was like, it is. So but that doesn't mean they're the same person. We all carry our own identity. We all have differences. We all have something that makes us unique and special. In fact, we all have a different soul from one another. We are each uniquely created, designed, and made for a purpose. And that's what we're going to talk about during the series. And you know what? I believe that church should be the safest place to talk about some of these, let's be honest, awkward things that we're going to talk about during the series. Because here's the thing. Even in the midst of life at school and on TV and in the music, we get told so many different messages about how we were created, about how we were designed, what we're made for, what the things that God has made for. The reason we're supposed to use them in our lives. And so, to be honest, the reason we're talking about some of the things we're going to talk about in this series is because everybody else is talking about it, and I think you need a light of truth speaking about these things as well, so that you can take the other things that you hear with a grain of salt, and you can know what to cast out and what to keep in, and what to allow to become part of who you are and what you believe. Because I believe that you and everybody in this room, everyone was uniquely made with a purpose in mind. You had a design, and you know what? So are the things that we have in this life. We have them for a reason. There's a design behind them. There's a purpose. And so we're going to talk about some of those things. We're going to talk about topics like puberty, sex, how we're supposed to deal with that. Oh, I said the S word. Is he allowed to say that in church? Right? We're going to talk about don't say it to your neighbor. Never mind. I was going to say turn to your neighbor and say, but don't. Everybody just say it right now. 1, 2, 3. You guys can do better. 1, 2, 3. Sex. All right, get it all your system. Get the giggles out. We're going to talk about sex. Not today, actually. We're not. I got your hopes up, didn't I? We're not talking about it today. We're going to talk about it next week. But we are talking about something else today that kind of goes hand in hand with that. And let me tell you, you guys are in this stage of life right now that you are developing. You are becoming a little bit more mature. You're becoming self-aware, and you're going through this thing we all like to call puberty, right? Where you guys are changing and turning into the beautiful young men and women that you are going to be when you grow up. And so it's exciting, but it's all kinds of awkward. Let's just be real. It's all kinds of awkward, right? And before we get too deep into this, let me just encourage you. I'm a professional. I've been through this before. I've been in your shoes. I know exactly what it's like. In fact, when I was your guys' age, I started helping out on praise team, like what some of our students were doing up here on stage earlier and what we tend to do every week. And I got involved in that. And then as I grew older, when I became about Sarah's age, who was up here singing a minute ago, when I became her age, I actually was asked to lead worship for something for the first time on my own. So I picked all the songs and I came up with a set list, and I was I prayed over and I was ready to lead worship, and I chose this song in the set list. Check out this song right here. I got a clip of it for you. you guys heard this song? It's a little bit older. It's about not going just through the motions of life. Some of you are singing with it. Okay, so when I was leading that song for the first time, it did not go that smoothly. In fact, I was feeling the moment as it was building up, instead of going through the motions. And it was like this awkward in the microphone in front of all my peers looking and staring at me where everybody heard. And it wasn't one of those that I could just motion, and pull off the mic and nobody noticed. It was like, motion. And everybody heard it. And there was oh no. Just want to hide. Take my guitar and just hide behind it while I played the rest of that set. And it was one of the most awkward, humiliating, embarrassing moments of my entire life. So when I say that I've been where you're at, trust me that I'm telling you the truth. I am a professional. I know what it's like to go through what you guys are going through, and I know it's all kinds of fun and all kinds of awkward all mixed up in one, okay? So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what it looks like what it looks like to go through this phase of life and into your adult life with a Christian perspective when it comes to some of the things and some of the lies that we're told in our culture today. Here's the truth. All of it just leaves us feeling a little bit out of control and confused. Why can I not control the vocal cords vibrating inside my chest to not, squeak every time I talk, right? Some of you, you're like, my voice was up here yesterday. No, it's down here. But sometimes it goes back up and I don't even try and it does it on its own. And why can I not have control over my own body, right? And so I get it. I know what it's like. And we're going to kind of talk through this together. But I need some volunteers. Who wants to volunteer on the awkward Sunday? Just kidding. You two, come up. I want you to come over here just all the way to the side in the corner, right? Up on the stage in the corner. Don't move. Now, I need a group of 4. Actually, let's do a group of 6. Let's do 3 guys and 3 girls. So you 3 girls on the back right there. You 3 guys right there. Yep, come on up. Now, you group of 6, you're going to come over here, and you 2, you're going to just, all the way to the corner there. Don't fall off. Don't die.
No one cares about us.
You're going to come up here, and you're going to be behind this platform as well. But remember, you're a separate group. Come on over here. You're a separate group from the original 2 I brought up there, okay? Go ahead and, just join your comrades over there. All right, and I need one more volunteer that's really outgoing, okay? Okay? Oh, man, who should I pick? Who should I pick? Jackson, I'll go ahead and I'll pick you. Yeah, come on up. Yeah. So, all right. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to be talking, and go ahead and conform. And so we've got a group of 1, a group of 6, and a group of 2. Now, when I signal you, you're going to go ahead. You're going to walk across the stage, very slowly and silently. Okay? You're going to walk across the stage how?
Slowly and silently.
Okay, so keep that in mind. So what I want to illustrate to you guys is when we go through puberty and there's the awkwardness that comes with that, then sometimes it feels a little bit go ahead. Slower. Everybody wave at him.
Hi, Jackson.
And then you group of 6, you can go ahead and go. Slower. Look out to the audience and wave. That was impressive. That was impressive. I was feeling the awkward in the room, so good job. So Jackson, come here. I think I know how you feel because you didn't even look at anybody. But how was that walking across the stage with the lights on you all by yourself with everybody watching?
I don't know. I just kind of just thought about walking.
So you just focus on what you're doing, and we're going to ignore all the eyes in the room staring at you.
I did look at the audience a little bit, and I did this.
Yeah, but you didn't make eye contact, I noticed. You just kind of...
Correct.
So did you feel a little weird?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so the person who did it last hour said that it was embarrassing. Would you say it was embarrassing, or would you say it was kind of like...
It was more funny than embarrassing.
Funny than embarrassing? Good, that's why I picked you. Okay, group of 6. How did you guys feel about walking across the stage together?
Slow motion red carpet. It was funny. Nerve-wracking.
Funny, nerve-wracking?
Slow motion red carpet.
Slow motion. Yeah. So it was not probably as bad as if you had to do it by yourself, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, if I had made you go by yourself, would you have enjoyed that?
We just started laughing.
No, of course you would, Kenny. Okay. Last group of 2. How about you guys? How did you feel going across the
You
stage?
didn't ask us to wave. The other group, you guys said, "Hey, wave to the audience," and you.
Well, I know. Not everybody gets the same cues.
Oh.
That's part of the awkward.
Well, man, for me, I was like, let's just get this over with, and I can
Just get it. I noticed.
go home.
I noticed you hid under your hood. Okay.
I was savoring the moment.
You're savoring the moment. Okay, there you go. So give these guys a hand. You guys can go ahead and have a seat. You proved my points. The point being that, when we're going through puberty, sometimes it feels weird because we feel like people notice, right? When you're going through puberty, it feels like people notice. And, it's always, kind of, when you're going through puberty, there's always those kids in your class, that's that first one that goes off by themselves. And it's kind of weird. They're like, their voice starts dropping and they come up to you, look, I had to start shaving my hair last night, right? And it's like, sometimes for guys, it's more like a proud moment, like, haha, beat you all. But for girls, sometimes it's like, honey, it's time to start shaving your legs, and you're embarrassed because you're like, oh no, I never even thought about this before. And so it's like, and then you get into high school and college, and then it's like, oh, well, it's winter, nobody cares, and so it kind of changes as it goes, but you start becoming more self-aware of things, and you're like, oh no, like people are watching me, and people are noticing all the changes happening around me, and sometimes they're good changes, because then you go to like family Christmas, and your grandparents are like, are you like 3 feet taller than you were last year? And you're like, yes, I am. And it feels good. But sometimes it's not so good, and it's just all kinds of awkward because you got all these monstrous zits on your face, and you're like, don't look at me, right? And so sometimes puberty's rough, but sometimes we all go through it in different stages. There's people that, they start going through puberty before everyone else, and hey-oh, would you look at that? And then there's some of you, the rest of you, that go as a group, right? That kind of like, you're all in this together and you're kind of all at the same time. And then, somewhere in high school or college, there's the late bloomers that finally start going through puberty. No, I'm just kidding. But there's there's the people who go through after everybody else, and they feel like everybody, they get picked on more usually, and it's just, that's not nice. Don't pick on people because they're developmentally in a different stage of life than you. But anyway, so puberty is just all kinds of awkward, but we feel like people notice, and when people are noticing something about the way we were made, it can make us feel just a little bit insecure, right? And some of us never grow out of it. Some of us, we just grow up feeling more and more insecure as we get older, and more awkward. And so we know what it's like to kind of feel like people are noticing us, and to make us insecure, because let's be honest, when you were in elementary school, you didn't worry about half the things that you worry about now when it comes to like, what do people think of me when I wear this, or when I look this way, or if I sport this hat, like am I a hat person? I don't know, right? And so we become hyper self-conscious of ourselves in ways that we weren't when we were younger, because we're becoming more self-aware of ourselves. And so that can lead to us feeling awkward, maybe a little bit just weird and insecure. But you know what? I want to point you guys to the Old Testament. And if you know the Bible, there's 2 testaments. There's the Old Testament before Jesus and the New Testament after Jesus' resurrection. And in the Old Testament, and right in the middle of the Bible, there's a book called Psalms. And it's the biggest book in the Bible. There's like 150 chapters. And some of the Psalms were written by somebody we don't know, but then most of them were written by David. David, the king of Israel. And he's some of the Psalms are from when he was your guys' age as a teenager, and some of them were written as an adult. And this is what David has to say about this. We go into chapter 139, verse 13. He says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb." So he's saying, before any of this, just think about this, okay? This blows my mind. It hurts my head to think about this. But God is not bound by time and space the way that we are. So we had a beginning, right? God was never created. There was no beginning for him. He is the beginning for everybody else. But he himself never began. He just always was. Eternity in both directions. Like I can't even wrap my mind around that, because it hurts my head, because everything has to have a beginning, but not God, because God invented time, and those laws of time do not apply to him the way they do to us. So God has always existed, and in fact, he sees all of us in the span of our lives without the beginning and the end. He sees it all at the same time. Which means that before we even came into existence, God saw us. He knew how we were going to look, how we turned out, the numbers of hair on our head. He knew the gifts that he was already going to give us. And this is incredible. The forgiveness that we received on the cross covers all the sins that we have committed and ever will commit. Because when Jesus died on the cross for our sins, that covered our entire lives, all the things we don't even know that we're going to do yet. And so before we even began, before we even had a name, David is saying that God knit us together in our mother's womb. He knows you better than anybody because he created you. And then we go on. David says, "I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know this full well." Now, we don't use the word fearfully very often, but that doesn't mean he was afraid. It means fearfully. It means like a sense of wonder and inspiration. There's wonder and inspiration that went into how we were made. We weren't just thrown together. We were on purpose, which means we have a purpose. Which means this little phase that you're going through right now, it has a purpose. And it doesn't have to be the end of the world. It doesn't have to be as weird or as awkward as sometimes we make it out to be. And when you feel insecure about yourself because of some of the changes that you're going through, I want you to know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. That no amount of insecurity you feel can ever amount to the amount of love and compassion and inspiration that God feels about you. If you went to say how I believe this week, and we talked about how you are God's masterpiece, he went into extreme detail to creating each and every aspect of your life with a purpose. Because God made you, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So the two things I want you to do is receive that, believe it. Know that God has made you. And he has made you out of wonder and inspiration, which means you have a purpose. And secondly, I want you to remember that. When you feel insecure, when you feel like you're going through a difficult time, when you feel like you don't measure up because of your shortcomings, I want you to remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, regardless of anything that you've done, but simply by the fact that God created you. Because God made you, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So as you guys get ready to go into your small groups, I want you to be thinking about this one question, okay? What gets in the way of you believing that you're fearfully and wonderfully made? Think about that question. I'm going to pray for you guys, and you'll be dismissed to your small groups.